Living by the ocean, surrounded by breathtaking landscapes and soaking up the sun every day. It sounds like a dream, right? And in many ways it is. But behind the beauty, there are some real challenges that come with living in Brazil. Today in this video, I'd like to share 5 things that drive me crazy about living here. If you're new here, my name is Pev. I'm a model and a digital nomad based in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil right now. So first, I'd like to address the elephant in the room, which is crime, and unfortunately it is real here in Brazil, especially in Rio. And basically, I would say that you kind of always need to be careful. There are some really nice districts here in Rio, but still you need to be really careful whenever you go. A little disclaimer, actually nothing happened to me. Like, I literally had only one situation, which happened when I went to grab a milkshake at McDonald's, and there were some homeless guys, kids basically, and they were just like chasing me and my friends, and they were begging for like my milkshake or something, or my fries, and I kindly rejected, but they still were chasing, and at some points they just tried to grab my fries, and after all, I ended up without fries, but I wasn't robbed or something, and everything happens in Copacabana, which is, I think, one of the most touristic place here in Rio. And unfortunately, here in Rio, the most touristic place doesn't necessarily mean the most secured place. And actually, kind of another disclaimer is that despite all the great events happening in some distant places, I'm actually real careful. And I actually, like, I don't even go partying. I don't go out at night. I don't go to the clubs. I don't go to some shady places. And I, of course, don't go to the places where I'm not welcome. But of course, it's not guaranteed that nothing is gonna happen to you or your friends. And actually, I am gonna share some stories which happened to my friends and could have happened to me. And I'm gonna tell it in one of the next videos. So if you're interested, please like this video and subscribe so you just don't miss it. The next one is kind of silly, but still kind of big for me. It's the noise. Brazil, Latin America, it kind of makes sense, right? So yeah. Silence is kind of luxury here, and even if there are no football matches or something, it's so noisy almost all the time. And again, of course, it depends on the district. Where I'm living now, it's really rare that some people could scream or could talk loudly or something at home, but still from the streets you can hear someone singing or someone just talking, screaming. And this is really disturbing to me because, well, my first job was a sound engineer, and you know that my ears are really sensitive to the sound. And when I just moved to Brazil, it took really long time for me to adapt to all this noise. The next one is the heat. And again, it kinda doesn't make sense for you perhaps, because you go into Brazil, you go into Rio, it's obviously hot, so you expect that it's gonna be about 40 degrees Celsius, right? But it is fine, I think, if you're just going on vacation and you just plan to spend all the time on the beach. But for example, for me, who's living here for quite a long time, it is kinda annoying, because for example, if it's 37 degrees for the whole week, it is kind of disturbing, because you're not gonna be able to just go for a walk. You're gonna be so sweaty that you just want to go home and take a shower. You're also obviously not gonna do some sports, and I play tennis quite a lot, and it's just impossible. You literally need to play at 5 or 6 a.m. to play at least half an hour without dying of heat. And even sleeping could be a struggle. Like, again, of course, it's great if you have air conditioner, and yes, apartment here, Airbnbs, they do usually have air conditioner. But for example, if you're living here and you're paying for the electricity, it's gonna be tricky, right? The next one is the prices, and the prices here do not actually make sense. Like, don't get me wrong, Brazil is really affordable, and as I just told you in another video, which of course I'd be happy if you watch it, you can have a really comfortable life here for just 1,500 bucks. But if we talk the Apple, for example, or some tech, it is gonna cost you almost double. Like, for example, iPhone 16e, this one, like mini 16, gonna cost you almost double the price which you could have paid like in Australia. And it is kind of crazy. Sad story from my own experience is a couple of years ago my Mac just stopped working. I'm not sure what happened. I think my Mac just was old and like it kind of was time to change it. But when I went to Apple, I was shocked because I had to pay almost $3,000 for the Mac, which did not have this price in Europe, for example, and this is crazy. And actually the same goes for Windows PCs or other kind of tech. And actually, when I wanted to buy a new iPhone last year, I just went to another country. I went to Paraguay and it was real normal price. And this is actually what Brazilians do. Sometimes they just wait for the right moment and they go to Europe or to the US and buy the tech for the normal price. But for example, when my Mac broke, it was an emergency and it was impossible for me to live without a computer. So yeah, I had literally no choice. And the last one is that the customer service here could be a struggle. And another little disclaimer here is that I'm originally from Eastern Europe, right? So I'm not sure that maybe in the US it's different, maybe in Europe it's also different, but for example, I'm used to really good customer service. And also some things just make sense. For example, back in Moscow, I could have just like opened the website and see where I can buy these products. Or at least I could have get a delivery the same day. Now here it's really rare. Like there are cases when you get the same day delivery or maybe the next day, but still it's really rare. And in general, sometimes you really need to force some people to work, and it's kind of crazy. Like I understand, of course, that like when you're living by the ocean and the whole vibe is kind of chill, you're chilling, right? It's great. But at the same time, when you really need something, then you expect people to deliver it, especially if you're ready to pay. Especially if you're ready to pay extra. But it's not the case here, unfortunately. And sometimes people here, they just don't think about the customer. Like I remember I had some questions about the products and I sent a message on WhatsApp to the store, and the woman responded me 2 days later, and she recorded me like 5 audio messages. And I told her that like, I'm sorry, I'm not able to listen to the audios. And instead of telling me, okay, I'm gonna type it, she just told me, oh, okay, you could listen to it later. And it's weird, like the customer is not the priority here, and it is totally different from the experience I had before. So there you have it, 5 things that I absolutely can't stand in Brazil. Brazil can be frustrating, and it's not all samba and carnival. These challenges are definitely a part of the experience, and of course when you go into Brazil you need to embrace it along with all the positive sides. If you're thinking about visiting Brazil or even moving here, keep this in mind. And tell me if you're already in Brazil or if you had some experience about living in Brazil. Comment below the challenges you had or haven't. And of course don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and maybe watch another one. Thank you and see you in the next one.